I think we'll see a central bank digital currency in the U.S. You already have one in China and other countries. So I'd expect that to be part of what's discussed in D.C. in the next number of weeks.
What is the intersection, if any, between UBI and cryptocurrency?
I think the intersection is very significant because if you're trying to get buying power into people's hands, one tool to do so is the U.S. dollar, and I ran for president on making that case. But there's no reason why it necessarily needs to be in U.S. dollars as opposed to Bitcoin or some other asset class or currency. I mean, we have to start thinking bigger about the challenges that we're facing. I think you're going to see new currencies emerge from the public sector, where you can have municipalities and communities experimenting with local currencies that will help drive people to local small businesses and nonprofits that may not be getting the support that they need right now. Mark Cuban had a suggestion during the pandemic where he said we should send everyone cash cards that can only be used at locally owned small businesses, and the money expires in 2 weeks if you don't use it, because we're just trying to drive activity. So those are the kinds of things that cryptocurrencies very naturally enable that U.S. dollars don't. No one thinks about getting a U.S. dollar and it's going to expire, or it can only be used in one place and not another. But these are utilities that we should be experimenting with in different settings right now.
Yeah, and that's some of the functionality that they've talked about with respect to the EU1.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have Andrew Yang on universal basic income. And guys, we know when he ran for president, that's what he's known for. And we know universal basic income would be great if we stayed in the same system. But universal basic income with cryptos, that programmable money, is the worst idea ever invented. Because basically what they're going to do is airdrop you that free money. And what did David from R3 say? We will airdrop that free money to boost the economy. You have 3 to 6 months to spend it or poof, it's gone. That is correct. And plus they'll be able to tell you what, where, and when, and how to buy. And the way they're pushing crypto is us versus them. The banks, the currency is no longer any good. Let's go ahead and bring in these stable coins, these CBDCs. So therefore, they get even more control. They get the text to glow. And that's the reason why they're going to destroy the U.S. economy. So the people are on their knees begging for this. They already got a taste of that free money with stimulus. But this time, when the people get that free money, these stable coins, they're going to be giving up all their privacy. No more savings, and remember the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Critics who make the point, or they believe that Web3 is a lot of hand-waving right now. It's more of a PR play more than anything else.
Well, that's exactly what we have to prove or disprove. If you can take people who had never heard of certain cryptocurrencies and actually put them in a position to benefit, then that can be good for people, but also help, again, broaden people's conception of what these tools can do.
A lot of people are blaming stimulus for the inflation that we're seeing today. And I wonder what your thoughts are on the whole stimulus check experiment, whether has it all altered your view of, you've advocated for sending people money. Does that change now?
Sure thing. So if you look at the sources of inflation, first, the inflation that had existed before this past year was in education and healthcare and housing, in these staples, and that was obviously independent of anything in terms of stimulus checks. The stimulus checks comprised maybe 17% of the money that was issued with the CARES Act. Where did the other 83% of the money go? It went to institutions, it went to pipes. So there are a number of factors that are driving prices higher. Money in people's hands for a couple of months last year, in my mind, was a very, very minor factor in that. Most of that money has long since been spent, and yet you see inflation continue to rise. Why? Because there aren't enough goods to go around, and people right now are experiencing a lot of pent-up demand.
So this is the first time that we've really seen Bitcoin in an inflationary context, starting from the beginning of the pandemic. What does this change for your thinking about Bitcoin? A lot of people see it as like this hedge against inflation. Is that narrative accurate?
Oh, well, everyone is concerned about inflation. I'm concerned about the fact that it's making a lot of Americans' lives miserable because it's a very difficult circumstance when your expenses are climbing and maybe your income isn't keeping pace. So Bitcoin has historically been thought of as a hedge against inflation, as a digital gold, if you will. And I think that the interest level is going to rise as people do seek alternatives in terms of how to store value, because people know if you just have a bank account full of money, unfortunately, that's losing value right now unless you're getting paid above the rate of inflation, which is, what, 7% nowadays, something like that. And the last I checked, savings accounts were still only paying, 1 or 2% max. By some people who resemble that. Some of those folks have become part of the Lobby 3 DAO, which is this community that we're building to make a positive case. I do think that this community is going to be an increasingly potent force politically, and that it falls outside of the traditional two parties. Because if you were to run around this room and ask, like, hey, are you Republican or are you Democrat? Most of the people will look at you and you can tell they're not either of those things.
Yeah. Bitcoin is its own religion and its own form of politics, I find.
Well, I mean, if you were to go around to folks here, I think most of them would identify as independents.
Yeah.
And independents have gotten involved in politics in different ways. But you're going to see in these coming cycles, many of these folks are very focused on the treatment of Bitcoin and other assets as who they're going to vote.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends. So therefore, we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Part 3. King Yeshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.